Hey everyone, welcome to another Mastermind Advisor podcast. Today we're going to talk about appointments and how we get a better show rate for our appointments. Now, we always talk about how many appointments we get, but we don't always talk about how many people show up to our appointments. We have a really good appointment show rate. In fact, with our seminars, we have close to like a 95% show rate, and with our webinars, we have close to an 80% show rate. So it's important to listen in and how we are getting such a good rate or good appointment show rate, because we have a very specific process to make sure that people will show up to their appointment. So make sure you tune in, especially to the very end, because I have one thing that I almost forgot to talk about that really makes sure that we get those people to show up from our seminars. Let's tune in. Hey everyone, welcome to another podcast with Mastermind Advisor Marketing. I'm Vince Oldry. I'm here with Josh Woodward. And today we're going to talk about appointments, making sure that they show. And there's an actual process that we use to get people to show. And what we find with some advisors is that they may not have a good process to make sure people show. And then usually they complain about why people aren't showing up to their appointments. Now, I don't really complain about people not showing up to my appointments. I don't have many people that ghost me or don't show. Most people show, and most people, if they don't show or they're not going to show anyway, they will reschedule before the appointment. So there is a bit of a process there, as well as I am a stickler on how far out appointments can go. I'm a stickler on when they can book the appointment, like what times, what days. So I'm a bit more specific on that. I know some other advisors will meet with people on Saturdays, Sundays, whether there's time in the day or not, they'll still meet with them. I'm a bit of a stickler, but I know this has been something that comes up, and we have a really good appointment show ratio, but I know some advisors can struggle with that.
Yeah, this would be great. I mean, we've talked a lot about how you get clients, right? Or how do you get prospects to the door? And then now that you have them to the door, all right, they finally committed, raised their hand, said they want an appointment. And now you're wondering, man, they're not showing. And so then your immediate thought is, well, the system's broken. I can't work with virtual clients or seminars. It's just, they don't show, they don't commit. It's not a good prospect. And so to go through that, it'll be good to cover each stage. Even what we do, what we have automated for advisors. I know you guys do some things as well. To just kind of cover that and increase the show rate, because in all sincerity, with in our instance with our pipeline and getting people committed and the process that they go through, they really should rather have a high show rate, 75, if not higher than that. But I think you're probably much closer to 80% show rate. Yes, people will drop off, right? Some people won't show, but that's just commitment. You just know they're not a solid candidate. Then they're not going to take you serious. So don't sweat the one or two that drop off. But if you're having, if only one of 6 appointments virtually haven't showed, well, there's an issue, and we kind of got to look into that a little bit more.
Yeah, and this actually stems back to when I first did dinner seminars. I would have 90% of the room, quote unquote, book an appointment with me. But the no-show rate, the ghosting rate was just ridiculous. And so I was doing things like send them a gift card just to try to get them to show up sometimes. And from talking with advisors around the country and some other marketing companies, they're saying their show rate for appointments from dinner seminars is like 25-30%. It's really low. So you got to keep in mind, people are booking an appointment sometimes at dinner seminars because they just feel bad. You just bought them a steak dinner. I don't do that anymore. I just do seminars at local colleges and libraries, and I do the webinars. And so there is no free steak or something that makes someone feel bad to actually book an appointment with me. So that helps right off the bat to help with my show rate, because people are booking for the right reasons. They're not just booking because they feel bad because I just bought them a steak dinner. But then there's some other things that we want to make sure. Number one, when we book an appointment, we really don't want to go out too far. Okay, maximum is 10 days. Dale in my office will sometimes do 2 weeks, but we have a lengthy follow-up process, meaning that we are hitting them with multiple emails, multiple text messages, and we do a prior day phone call. And that is the key part. And a lot of times people will say, well, I do Calendly, and it sends them a reminder email and a reminder text the day before. That's not enough. I mean, how often do you see this happening, Josh?
Yeah, it's funny when we look at like our reminder setup, and then if someone wants to use their Calendly reminder, you can literally see the adjustment show rate, and then you look at their automations, and it's like, well, Calendly sends out, when they book it, they get one confirmation, and then the next they might get like an email the day before, or maybe a text message the day before. But that's just not enough. I mean, the whole thing is, if you think about like you set an appointment with a doctor or a lawyer or anything like that, or any other industry, you're setting an appointment. What do you get? You're getting 3 to 4 emails. You're getting 2 to 3 text messages, and you're definitely having, like, my doctor's office, their assistant calls me the day prior, like, hey, we look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Make sure you bring your insurance card and a photo ID, things like that. And so when you look at like a Calendly setup, yeah, you can automate that stuff, but a lot of people that I talk to just use the bare minimum. Mm-hmm. And then I'll probably hound this a lot on this podcast, but the biggest thing is calling the day before the appointment. Again, just having someone, whether it's you, an assistant, it doesn't matter, but just someone to call them and say, hey, we look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Just want to make sure you got the Zoom link. Want to make sure you have the form, or your statements readily available, so we can maybe talk about that a little bit more. Make sure you're reiterating, hey, I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow at 11 o'clock. Do you have that Zoom link? And when they do that and they confirm and say, yeah, I do, I'll look forward to being there, you better believe that they're going to show and commit. They're going to take your time serious. It's not just a numbers game there. It's a person, and they're going to know that you're real and worth the time. So
yeah, you're telling them
the biggest key thing.
Yeah, you're telling them that you're expecting them to be there. Like, hey, I see you on my calendar. I'm expecting you to be there. It's not some automated system also doing it. But I will say, you gave me a little bit of anxiety when you just said, I remember there's a guy that we were working with that Calendly would just send him the confirmation of the appointment, and that's it. That's all he did. I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
He swore by it. He's like, oh, but on the email, you can add it right to their Google Calendar. And I was like, it's just, yeah, okay, fair enough.
But it didn't work because he would send him as we went through his process. We're like, what's the process? We and when we talk to advisors, we want to know what your process is. We want to know what each step is. Like, if you just say, yeah, I follow up with them, and you don't tell me the exact details, what we usually find out is you're not doing enough. More often than not, you're not doing enough. Every now and then I'll have people that come into my office that say, hey, I got all your text messages. I got all your emails. It's plenty, dude. I don't need that many. But there's a reason why we do it. And the reason why is because people forget. I remember this one client that came in.
It's funny because they were there, right?
Yeah.
They may complain, but they were there in your office.
Well, so the funny thing is, this one client, he's not a client, but he was a prospect. The first meeting, he's like, Vince, I got like 3 text messages, 3 emails from you. I get it. I'll be there. I won't miss appointments. I'm like, all right, no problem. I'll take you out of the automations going forward. So we scheduled the next appointment. I made sure we didn't send him all the reminders because he said, don't send me any of them. I'll show up. Well, guess what? Didn't show up. So I gave him, I gave him a bunch of crap for it. I'm like, hey, you said you'd show up. He's like, I know, I forgot. I'm like, this is why we send you all the reminders, because you won't forget. You can't forget. And if you forget, you did it on purpose. But when people say, yeah, I have a system that follows up with people, like it sends them a confirmation, that's not enough. You got to send them multiple emails. I believe we send 3 emails. So obviously we send the confirmation email. We do a 48-hour prior. If it's out more than 7 days, we do a 7-day email as well. And then we do the day prior, the day of, and then we also have text messages the day prior, the day of, as well as we do the prior day call. So we call them, make sure that they're going to be there. That helps a lot. It gets our show rate way up there. And I know from experience there are advisors that claim they do this, but they don't do it. You just got to do it. Now, if you're just going to do the basics, the bare minimums, it's still not going to work. So don't tell me you do it and then it's not working. If it's not working, I'm going to say, let's go through your process. How many times are you following up with them? How many times, are you texting them? How many times are you doing the confirmation call? A lot of times people will be like, well, I talked to them 3 days ago. Doesn't matter. We still do a prior day call. It does not matter. What have you seen as far as the drop off? Because I know there's an advisor you were talking about this with recently. What was the drop off for them? Because they weren't doing the prior day call.
Yeah. Yep. So we were talking to him. He's gotten, I think, 5 or 6 appointments. And he's only had, I think, 2 show of those 6. And so obviously there's an issue there. And so we look at it and like, hey, listen, everything on the front end, you spent all this money. We're getting you great quality at these appointments. We're looking at how much assets they have. Like, these are good individuals. All right. Well, now why are they not showing up to the Zoom? What's going on? You look into the links. You're just making sure everything works, right? Everything works. And then I ask him, well, are you making the day before calls? And he goes, oh, I completely forgot to do that. And I was like, all right, well, let's start doing that. And literally his very next appointment this week, he called the day prior and they showed. And so it's literally the one thing. You can do all these emails, all these drips, right? And like, it's all good and it all helps. But the one thing that will make or break those appointment show rates is just making that day before a call. Just a quick, 30-second call. Even if you're leaving them a voicemail. It's just a quick 30-second call to say, hey, John, I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Can't wait to meet with you. I just want to make sure you got everything. When someone commits verbally on the phone with someone that's real, they're going to show. So now that he's going to start doing that, I guarantee his show rate goes up, and he's going to start meeting with these good high quality people. And it's actually been a few people that I've talked to about that they just forget that one stage of calling the day before. And so it's just the one thing you can't automate. It's got to be a real person. You got to reach out and just let them know, hey, I look forward to seeing you.
It's so easy to do, but at the same time, it's so easy to just push it off, thinking I sent all these emails, sent all these texts, and they're all these text messages, and they're going to show, right? But I will also say though that if you only just do the prior day call, that will also drop your show rate. It's a combination of all these things. You have to do all of them. It's not just like pick one or the other. I'm just going to do the prior day call. No, you have to do all of them. There's a reason. Though the whole way that we started this process, by the way, was actually from my dad. My dad said, because I was getting really frustrated. I was really frustrated with my dinner seminars. People weren't showing up, and I'm like, well, Dad, this isn't working. Something's not right. And he's like, well, how often are you calling them? How often are you doing texts, emails? He's like, because down here in Florida, there is no way I can miss my doctor's appointment. I get 5 text messages, 5 emails, multiple calls just to make sure that I show up. There is absolutely no way that I could forget to go. I'm like, well, I'm not doing that, but I'm afraid to piss people off. He's like, no, run it like a dental office or a medical office, because your time's valuable. If someone blocks off on your calendar and they don't show, that is hurting your business. So that started the whole process of me doing all these. I started doing Calendly a long time ago, at the beginning stages. And it helped. It definitely helped. Dinners still didn't, I still had a bit bigger drop off with dinners than I did with education workshops or the webinars. But it helped a lot. And that's the major difference there is we have to treat our time valuable. We have to treat it like that if they don't make this meeting, that they're losing out. Not so much about it is about them, but at the same time, it's about you too. It's about you and your time. If people are blocking that time on your calendar and they don't show, that's tough. And if you saw me in my office, I get pissed off if someone doesn't show. There was a time where, when I was doing dinner seminars again, I was doing a lot more evening appointments from the dinner seminars too, which I have to say, I don't do a lot of evening appointments anymore. But what we would do is we'd stack our appointments. I said, if I'm going to do any evening appointments, because I have 2 young kids, like I want to be home. So if we're going to do any evening appointments, what I'm going to do is a select day for the evening appointments. Only going to be, let's say, Wednesday. I don't remember what day it was, but I don't do them anymore. So what I would do is I'd stack the appointments. I'd have a 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, even an 8 o'clock, right? And so Dale would stack these appointments, and he'd be like, I feel good about them. I feel good. I'm like, oh, man, all right. But what would happen is, like, the 5 o'clock didn't show, the 6 o'clock didn't show, the 7 o'clock didn't show. I'm freaking still in my office, and I'm calling the people for the 8 o'clock just to make sure that they're going to be there that night. And of course, what do they say? Yep, we'll be there. I'm like, all right.
It's always the last one.
Well, but if you think about it, like I called them that night just to make sure they're going to show, and they showed, right? I didn't call the other ones before, at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock to make sure they're going to show. And that's what dawned on me is, hey, we need to hit these people a lot. Like, not just once or twice. We need to do it a lot. Now, when people use our system, we do that for them, right? We do the text messages. We do the emails for them. They're only responsible for the prior day call. If they're still struggling with, show rate, we will up the ante, meaning we'll up the amount of emails and text messages if we have to. Even on the B2B side, meaning the Mastermind Advisor company, when we're making appointments with other advisors, we send you guys a lot of text messages, a lot of emails just to remind you to show up to your appointment. You might say, that's too many. I don't care. It's not going to be too many.
Yeah. The funny thing is, even on the B2B side, we've literally had advisors be like, hey, Vince, all right, I'm joining now. Like, I'm coming on board. Can you remove me from the emails or whatever? The funny thing is, people think that as a negative, but no, they came to the appointment. They became a client. Maybe they were irritated, but they were there. They showed, and they became, they started to work with us. And it's so funny because, like, I know you used to do evening appointments, but I talk to advisors a lot, and a lot of them just, I don't know what it is, but like a lawyer, if I'm going to go meet with my lawyer, he's not available after 5 o'clock. His office is closed. So I'm going to the doctor's after 5 o'clock. The office is closed. There's like with the financial advisors, it's just like the confidence of being like, listen, your financials are important. Even if you have to work, like, you should step away from your job to come meet with me because I'm providing X. And when you give that persona, like having the automations and like having those calls the day before, you give that persona like, hey, my time's available. I need, if you're going to show, I need you to be there. If you're going to book time with me, I need you to show. And so it's just that whole mentality of, hey, I'm not pushing. I'm not going to, yes, I'll go out of my way sometimes to help if you can only do a 6 o'clock meeting. Sure. But most cases, like, I'm sorry, I'm only in the office till 5. The office closes at 5. I'll need you to book before that. Even like, I have some advisors, I'll just say, hey, don't book an appointment on Friday, right? Just because out of the vast majority of appointments that happen on Friday, do they show? Same conversation I think we had with our team on what you sent a message to our sales team on Monday. Like, booking appointments on Mondays has a lower show rate just due to the fact that it's just after the weekend. People are forgetting. They're not back into the swing of things. They're not checking their emails. Sundays, are we doing the day before call? Those kind of conversations are kind of what happens. And you just got to think about that on a larger scale of, hey, I'm important. I have a legit company. It's a business. I'm only here till 5 o'clock. If you can make it, great. If you can't, we'll figure out a different time possibly to get you kind of in the door to help you out.
No, there's an advisor that I work with, Derek, that he brings me in on the appointments. I help him do the meetings. And I told him I won't do the appointments after 5 o'clock. I was like, well, some of these people want to do appointments after 5. I'm like, look, you can do it with them after the first appointment with them after 5 o'clock. And if they're worth bringing me in, tell them we got to schedule a different time. I will guarantee you that they will have availability during the day. And he's like, oh, all right. He kind of him and hawed. Well, I even, did one meeting with him that's at 5 o'clock, just to, at the beginning here to help him out. And they kept wanting to book at 5 o'clock. Well, guess what? I have my kid's t-ball, or not t-ball, he's in baseball now, or coach pitch. I got swimming lessons in the afternoon with the kids. I have, he was playing flag football. We have a puppy, so we have the dog classes in the evening. I'm too busy. He's got hockey. I don't have time anymore like I might have had before I had kids. I don't have the time, especially now that I have 2 kids plus a dog. I don't have time to do the evening appointments. So it almost forced my hand in a good way. So but the funny thing is, guess what? They're all meeting with me still. Now they're coming in at 4 o'clock, but I'm out of here by 5, or maybe at 5:15. But you can do that. You don't have to sacrifice your time. Now, Mike in my office, he will do evening appointments. He will do like 5 o'clock and 6 o'clock. But guess what? He doesn't have kids. He doesn't have a wife. So he's a little bit more. He can be a little bit more flexible with his time. And technically, I don't think he comes in here till like 10, 11 o'clock anyway. So. That's just
It's his lifestyle. We get it. It's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. There is one other thing that we left out though to help with our seminars that I do. Not the webinar side, but the seminars. The seminars, if someone books an appointment at the seminar, I actually don't book the appointment at the seminar. I used to have someone come with me to help me book the appointment at the seminar. And then I tried to see if Dale could book the appointment for me, and if there was any difference. Did I have to book the appointment at the seminar, or did I not have to? And I actually found that there wasn't much of a difference, at least with my appointment setter. Now, for other advisors out there, it might be good to still book that appointment while you can at that seminar, that date and time. And what I do at that seminar is I say, if you're booking an appointment, you can grab one of these packets. It tells you how to get to our office and that kind of thing. So they take the packet and we put the time and date on there if we booked it at that seminar. Well, when we get back the next day, we could run through it. Anyone that said they wanted an appointment that was not on the calendar yet, Dale calls the next day. He calls them twice. First time he calls them, doesn't leave a voicemail. Second time he calls them, he'll leave a voicemail to help book the appointment. The next day, he doesn't call them. Calls them the third day, same thing. Calls in the morning. If they don't answer, he doesn't leave a voicemail. Calls them again, he'll leave a voicemail. Then he'll call them on the weekend just to try to book the appointment. So I'm lucky to have someone that will book appointments on the weekends. But once they book an appointment, we will also mail them the same packet that they grabbed from the seminar. And the reason being is that if you gave them a packet at the seminar, they're just going to take the packet, usually look at it, sit down in their seat, or toss it in the back seat and forget about it. Or toss it in the trunk. You don't know where it goes. I swear, it's just like the recycling bin here. Like when I get a bunch of junk mail, I just right into the shredder. So what we do is we mail them the same packet. It tells them what to bring with them. We even send them another retirement strategy analysis with them, as well as we email that same thing to them. So it's the same email, basically. That way they get it in hard format, an email format, and then we text them, and then we call them. So we hit them multiple different ways. So on the seminar side of thing, I don't know what our no-show rate is. It's like non-existent. If someone's not able to make it to their appointment, they call and they reschedule or they're just, sometimes people will say, I met with my other advisor, I'm fine. But that's very rare. But what's more rare is having someone not show to an appointment, unless something out of the blue happens. But it's very, very, very rare on that side. The webinar is a little bit different because we don't mail them something. We don't, webinars are a little bit different because they're not sitting through 2 hours of a seminar, in-person seminar. So there's maybe a little bit less commitment, but 80% is still good.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I mean, it is key just to make all that stuff super personable. Give them a hard copy, all that great stuff. Obviously, webinars definitely more virtual, but still, if you the reason why we have a high show rate again is the emails, text. If you're doing the day before, great, but we can just bring it back to the entire funnel and all that process that we made someone go through. Like you're talking about the dinner seminars, steak dinners. It's just the beginning stages of how you attracted that client, and like how important to set the foundation basically of that prospect, and then to curate them to wanting to book an appointment and wanting to show and providing your value that whole time. The whole setup of it is just to show like your target, who's quality, who wants to attend, who's there for the right reasons, and then yes, make those phone calls, make the emails, text messages. Don't be afraid to overload them. It's better to have a negative comment and then say that to your face at the appointment, right? Than it is for them just to not show you and ghost you. Everyone's busy. They all got their days right. And so it's just super key.
Now, the last part that I'll go over. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. What's the last part? It's probably my internet. Probably like 10-second delay here.
I know. Your internet over there. The last part I was going to talk about is the kind of appointment is I schedule retirement planning appointments and retirement planning appointments only. I don't do the 15-minute strategy call. You can do the 15-minute strategy call. I think it's just a really easy way to book some time on your calendar. And you'll get a lot of people that aren't qualified when you do that. I've done it. I didn't like it, so I stopped doing it. I just did because I'm like, please book an appointment with me, please. But I'm like, that's just what it felt like. At the end of it, I'm like, oh, he just wants a Social Security question. I'm like, I'm happy to help people, but like, I want to benefit both of us. So I think that does it for today, Josh. I mean, the appointment part or getting people to show is crucial. I've tried setting out the gift cards. It was like Starbucks gift cards, and that's all great, but let's just keep it simple and complex at the same time. So simple means you got to do a lot of follow-up. You don't need to give a lot of tchotchkes out there, a lot of prizes. You just got to do a lot of follow-up. So a lot of emails, a lot of text messages, priority phone call is key. If you're doing seminars, mail them something as well. That's it. You'll get people to show.
It. Yep, you're on the 5-yard line. It's not time to drop the ball there, So just do the follow-up. Don't be afraid to bug them. That's the key. Just do as much as you can.
As always, if you want to find out more about what Mastermind Advisor Marketing does, go to mastermindadvisor.com and you can look at our other podcasts there or go to the YouTube, and this will also be on YouTube to watch. Obviously, we're not going through anything on screen here today, but you'll get to see our pretty faces, or at least my pretty face. I don't know about Josh's face. Can't judge that.
Man, Josh Storm.
But yeah, feel free to go to YouTube, check out our Mastermind Advisor podcast. We have all of our previous podcasts there, and then make sure to like and subscribe so you can get up to date on any upcoming podcasts or any new podcasts or any other marketing ideas that we have for you. And again, if you want to meet with any one of our team members, go to mastermindadvisor.com and schedule some time with us. All right. Thanks, Josh, as always. And then we'll look forward to seeing you guys next week.